It's Jack Robison. I was born in Cozad out on the farm, and that was in March the 17th, 1937.
And who were your parents?
My parents were Earl and Ferne Robison. On July the 8th, to celebrate Dad and Mom's birthday, we'd go to Kearney's Park, the one where the swimming pool is too, and that big tower. But we'd go there and have a good time. And also they had a shop where you could have this electric gun. It didn't shoot bullets, but it shot rays evidently, and there were targets we could shoot at. And that was always fun. We had a ball growing up and Mom's sisters and brothers, most of them would go to Kearney too. I know, see Keith Smidt right here, he was my favorite cousin, him and Dale Kennedy. Rod Kennedy was good too. We always had a good time growing up. You know, we went to country school just a mile and a half away, and town was only 4.5 miles away. So growing up, and Mom and Dad, they took eggs and milk and cream and delivered it to different people in town here.
Tell me a little bit about your mom. What was she like when you were a kid?
Oh, she was a wonderful mother, very good cook and everything. Oh, you name it. She had, fried chicken or roast or steak and mashed potatoes and everything. She was just, you name it, she could cook it.
And what did Grandma always make for Grandpa for dessert?
Pie, I think it was.
What kind?
Raisin cream.
No.
Wasn't? No. Coconut? What was it?
What was Grandpa's favorite pie?
I don't know. Maybe apple? Well, you tell me then.
Probably gooseberry. That's his favorite.
It was gooseberry pie
Oh.
she always made on July the 8th.
Well, that could be.
I thought it was July the 4th.
Mine was coconut cream that I liked so well, and she'd always make that for me. But when she told you to do something, you better do it. Or you got any argument, their dad would step in and you didn't want Dad. Dad was a farmer. He farmed, Mom cooked, cleaned house and stuff. I really had a good home and everything was good, but you didn't get smart or do anything bad or so, or Dad would step in and take care of it. But if I got smart and tried to sass back, I'd get a spanking. It got so that we knew if we was going to get whipped, he had a bullwhip, and he'd spank us with a bullwhip. I got spanked with a bullwhip several times, so I learned to keep my mouth shut a little more. Well, Dad, see, he grew up more or less in Missouri, and then he worked on the Highway 30, helping build the highway there, and that's where he met one of his friends, Ken Cozad, who later became a coyote hunter and had coyote hounds, and he gave me a coyote hound. And I loved it, but my mom didn't like it because every time she came to the door with some scraps, that dog would jump on her. But I think I had a good time growing up. Dad always liked horses, saddle horses, and he had a big gray. Well, first they had one, I think it was called Topsy. It was a female horse, and Dad I don't know, he took it somewhere and had it bred 3 different times. So we had coats, and one that grew up that I loved was called Boots. It was coal black, but it had a white blaze face and 3 white feet. And it could run pretty good, but Dad had a little gray horse that was called Tony, and it was even faster than Boots. And Dad would take it to Lexington to the county fairs and race, and he bet won about every time. His best competition was a guy living in Kansas, and he had a Palomino horse. And Dad's, I think, horse got beat by him once, but Dad's horse won the most. And Dad would take his horse up to Arnold, Nebraska, too, and race, especially when Drome Limmer became his hired man and stuff. And Drome had a horse, and Dad would take Tony, but Tony was just about the fastest horse around here. He'd always win. My own horse, when we were all riding, I had one that a little quarter horse called Trixie, I think it was. My horse I liked to ride the most was one that was actually my mom, called Boots. And Dad had a little gray horse that he entered and rode in races at Lexington State Fair and stuff. His horse could run like everything.
Oh, wow.
Dad would take us fishing and playing horseshoe was the main thing. Dad had hunted quite a bit before I was old enough to hunt, you know. And,
Did you ride horses together?
oh, yeah.
And go to rodeos.
Yeah, Dad loved rodeo, so
And what were your chores on the farm?
my chicken chores had to feed the chickens, and they had quite a few different containers, corn, oats, and Milo. We had to have those filled and stuff. And then when I got, I don't know, 12 or so, I entered the 4-H, and I had my own calf, 4-H calf.
You got brothers and
Oh, yeah.
what was that like?
Oh, it was good. Rex and I, we got along pretty good, but if he got smart, he knew who was the older. So, but Kent was great too. I was had a BB gun, and I was sitting behind our garage, and it had an upstairs in it and a door that would open, you know. And I was sitting on the north side of the garage back there, going to shoot sparrows out of our catawba tree, and all of a sudden Rex dropped a chunk of coal on me.
What'd you do?
What do you think I did? I went up, he was upstairs in the garage, and he had opened that door and dropped that down. I hurried and ran around the garage and came up the steps before he could get down to the stairs. So he had to run and jump out of the north. I got the best end of the deal there, because he had to jump out the north door on our garage, you know. And it was one time, well, forget it. It seems like he could outrun me. And one time we had a race from our house up to Breaks, which was the next house south. And anyway, he outrun me as he could, but he got smart or something, and I know I took care of him pretty quick.
What'd you do? Did you pick up a rock and throw it at him?
Well, I did, but I don't know if I hit him or not. But Mom saw that, and I kind of got spanked for throwing rocks at my brother. Aunt Clara's chickens were running out all around the farmstead, you know, and the chicken house doors were left open. They could go in when they wanted to, not. Well, we had fun throwing cobs and
You
stuff.
soaked the corn cobs, got them wet and heavy.
Yeah, and then so they'd go good. And then we would throw at the chickens. And I know one time did that, and Mom and Dad caught us doing it. And they, in her house, she had a downstairs basement that, and I know I heard it went down there, but I didn't think Dad would notice, but he went down there and he took care of me. We killed a few chickens, and boy, I tell you, Dad really took care of us there.
Why were you doing that?
Well, they'd run, and we didn't know if we could hit them or so, but we'd pick up a rock or a
I think
clod.
you told me once you were pretending
They were
World
Japs.
War II was going on and they were the Japanese.
Yeah, that's true. And I'd get them to run, and then I'd throw at them when they was on the run, mainly. That was more fun.
Did your parents have brothers or sisters?
Oh, yes. Well, on my mom's side, there were 3 boys and 6 girls. So there were 9 children in Mom's. Dad was one of 12. He had 9 brothers and 3 girls.
Wow.
But they were from Missouri. Mom and Dad lived right over here on Ernest Noble's place now. Dad's family was mainly in Missouri. Iowa, Cantrell, Iowa, his oldest brother lived. But he had other brothers that were in Missouri and some in even Illinois. They were scattered. And he had 3 sisters. And it ended up, one was in Colorado. And most, I don't know, Missouri and was the main one, I guess.
Do you remember visiting your parents when you had your first son?
When I had my first son, oh yeah, and they visited us too.
So what were they like as grandparents?
Well, ask your dad.
I'll ask him later, but what did you feel when you brought your newborn to your parents? What was those days like?
I think they were very proud. They were good. I think they treated my children good. And they liked Carol real well too, and before we got married, or when I was going with her, and then we got married.
What did your dad tell you?
What did your dad tell you about Mom?
Well, him and Mom got along real good. Well, she got along with both of them real good and everything. But
What did he tell you before we were married?
he just told me to treat you right, and
It's about time you got a wife, and this would be a good one.
what did you think of my folks, Carol?
I loved your folks. In fact, I'm not so sure that I didn't marry you because I loved your folks.
I don't know.
And I loved your car.
Yeah, I know.
And I loved you too.